Yeah, thank you folks for joining today. And then after this, I'm going to be talking maybe like 15, 20 minutes or something like that. And then at 5 o'clock, Brendan's going to be presenting in Hubs as well from a different URL, but we'll be sharing the link to that at the end of this, and you should definitely go and check it out. It's like an alternative educators in VR event, so it's about art in the metaverse.
Yes, I'm really excited for it. Elgin's been really nice at showing me around the hubs and getting me up to speed with all this world.
Yeah, have you folks been into Hubs before?
Not very much.
Not very much. Okay, cool.
I'm just surprised at how easy it is to get into it.
What sort of devices are you folks on?
I'm on a PC.
Paul here, I'm on a Quest.
On a Quest? Okay, cool. If you're on the Quest, actually, could you tell me, can you see on this wall the word Mozilla and then like a picture of a person's face?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I was having some problems with I think my OS is a little bit out of date. Hi, Bethany. How's it going?
Hi.
Anyways, it wasn't showing up for me, and so I had a little panic moment when I came in, and then I refreshed it, and it was fine, but I just wanted to double check that wasn't something happening on other people's Quests as well. Or you'd think that I was going like out of my mind a little bit when I'm like, as you see on the picture, and you wouldn't see anything there. Hi, Spot Builds. Okay, so I'll give people just like 2 more seconds, and I'm going to get started. I'm just getting myself settled in here. Can you folks hear me okay?
Elgin, do you have a specific place you'd like me to kind of be
No,
standing?
as long as you can like see me in the camera, that's perfect. Thank you so much for volunteering to do that, by the way. That's a very big help. And Bethany, have you been into Hubs before? Okay, awesome, cool.
Sorry, I'm not sure if my mic was working.
Oh, no, it's working perfectly, but chatting it works just as well for me as well.
I like having the chat option. That's nice too. Thanks.
Yeah, I find it like I use it often like while someone's presenting to like, you know, ask questions of other people, or like if you have like if you didn't quite catch something. Oh my goodness. The Kool-Aid man just arrived.
Yeah, it's really limited without it.
Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna get my slides up, or my like whatever I have instead of slides. Okay. So hello everyone, thank you for joining me today. This is going to be a pretty informal conversation, so feel free to interrupt if ever you've got any questions or anything. My name is Elgin McLaren. I am the Community and Events Manager for Mozilla Hubs. Before I started working for Mozilla, I had a background of working, or my background was I finished up a master's in Interactive Arts and Technology at Simon Fraser University in beautiful Vancouver, BC in Canada. And I'm so excited to be here today because I spent a lot of time during my master's degree like thinking about VR. It wasn't in VR specifically, but I did a lot of research projects that were like sort of tangential to VR. And I just think it's such a really powerful medium. And this conference is wild. Like we were just talking about this before we started, but I wanted to say like a really big like thank you and like high five to the organizers. Hi. I was just thanking you. Because this
I heard you. Thank you.
Is such a huge endeavor that you've done, and I can really like the energy that it has put into the like VR community is really palatable. And so I just wanted to say, yeah, good work, and thank you for letting us at Hubs and me personally be involved with this. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. We had no idea what would turn into all of this.
Yeah, can I just ask really quickly, like when it first came up, was it just going to be like a little thing that snowballed into like 170 presentations, or?
It's nice that you ask, because actually a friend of ours, Chris Long, he passed away in May, but he actually he sowed the seed for this conference, and he was gung-ho. was like, let's do something that's never been done before, and a little bit like, oh, but hey Chris, if you say I'll follow your lead, and then he wasn't there anymore. You know what? We have something, and we thought we're gonna get 40 speak, be amazing, never been done before, and we put out the call for proposals, and they just kept coming. But we could have stopped it. We could have cut the range, diversity, quality proposals coming in. We thought, you know what? We don't need a building here. It's VR. Let's just an absolute kudos to Alf and Falton, my co-founder at Educators in VR, has managed so and a whole team of volunteers. Absolutely amazing. So yeah,
everyone has done such a great job.
As you were. Thank you.
All right, cool. So I just wanted to, give you guys a shout out. And I wanted to also introduce my brand new, let's see if this photo works. I'm using a second computer to import photos. I wanted to introduce my office mate who, did the photo come in? Yes, there it is. I just got him the other day. This is my new dog, and he's been keeping me company as I write this. So I just wanted to acknowledge this little bag of bones. Okay, so moving forward. So what I'd like to talk to you today is to give you a bit of a short intro to the platform of Hubs. I want to talk to you a little bit about sort of like where it came from, and also talk a little bit about some of the unique challenges and opportunities, as well as things that make it uniquely challenging to develop for the web for social VR. And then I want to talk a little bit about some of the educators in our community that are using Hubs to teach, to educate people in different contexts, and like just talk a little bit about the work that they're doing to showcase them. And then at the end, if you folks are interested, I'd like to take you on a bit of like a VR field trip to a few different environments that people have created for Hubs, just to show you some of the versatile sort of environments that we can have. So Hubs was originally launched as an experiment in about 2 years ago, so in 2018. And it was kind of just to figure out, like, can we actually do this? Like, is this something that can make happen? And clearly, yes, we can. Oh, no. So these are some of the original, avatars that we had. So things were a little bit more low fidelity back then, but since then it's been growing and changing and getting better all of the time. And I really, really love working on this team at Hubs, not only because everyone is really lovely themselves and we all are super into rubber ducks. So if you're on a computer, you tap /duck into the chat box, it's a beautiful rubber duck to play with. But also because it's such a new sort of medium and platform, and we're constantly changing and improving. And so it seems like if you don't pay attention for a couple weeks, all of a sudden you come back and you look and there's like new features, and a lot of this content and ideas have come from the community. So it's a really responsive dev team. And I would encourage you folks to get involved if you have any interest at all. So we have a Discord channel, which I'm going to post a link to here. If you're interested in using Hubs at all, you can join our Discord channel. And there's a huge community there of people who are using it. Oh, and if people could mute their mics if they're not, if they don't have a question, but feel free to interrupt me if you do. So we've got this Discord channel, so I'm going to just leave this over here on the side of the room. If anyone wants to join us, you can come over there. And we get a lot of feedback from people in our community about what they want to do, how they want to use Hubs, and we're very responsive in terms of like trying to figure out how we can accommodate that if that fits into the bigger like Hubs platform. And Hubs is open source, so if you go to our Discord channel, you can see all the discussions that we're having about the new features that we're coming up with. And so if you wanted to like weigh in, we're more than happy to hear that. And the other thing that's really cool is that it is an open source project. So if you wanted to look at the code or make your own version of Hubs, you can go to our GitHub page and all of the code is there. So you can take a look, you can do a code audit, you can figure out sort of what it is that we're doing. And that's also where we talk about our upcoming projects and improvements that we want to work on. Oh, Can you folks hear Bill Maher talking?
Somebody's watching the
Yeah.
YouTube live feed from
Okay,
earlier.
I think I'm just going to mute you, Bill. Sorry. There. Okay, perfect. All right, so it's open source, and there are so many benefits to it being in a web browser, right? And I think that probably a few of you have experienced that just in opening up this web page today. By making it so that you only need to access a link to be able to open up a site makes it super easy to get into a Hubs room. And I think that that's one of the biggest benefits, and that's one of the benefits that people have shared with me that they really like about Hubs, is that it reduces the friction. Especially if you're working in a context where you might not be able to download software onto your computer, or you might not want to. Everyone already has a web browser installed on their computer or on their mobile phone. And that's another benefit, is that you don't necessarily need to have really high-end equipment available to you. So even if you've just got like a mobile phone, or if you have a tablet, you can still access these communities of people that are meeting in VR. And that goes along with Mozilla's principles of having an open and accessible internet. Yeah. So those are just a few of them. And I also wanted to talk about like, it makes it easier for us as a dev team. So we have a really awesome group of about 10 people who are working on Hubs, all really lovely people. And then there's also external contributors who contribute. But we benefit ourselves because we have to, it reduces the amount of code that we have to write ourselves. Because a lot of the code, for example, bringing in media into the room is already made for us because the browser is pulling that weight. So that allows us to sort of work on customizing the features specifically for Hubs rather than having to build things from the ground up. So yes, I think it's really great that it works in the browser. It reduces the friction for people when they're coming in. Now, of course, this doesn't come without its own costs. So, for example, if you are coming in on a different platform, there's always the challenge of like the user experience, because if you're trying to design for all sorts of different platforms, it's going to have a different sort of, the different modalities are going to have different affordances and whatnot, which makes it really hard. So what we've tried to do is to make our controls as accessible and easy for people to control on multiple different types of platforms as possible. So if it's your first time in Hubs, I should have just put up a photo. It should be coming in a moment. It just has to upload. So if you want to interact with a person or an object in the room, you have these menus that can pop up really easily. So if you're on your desktop, all you have to do is point at something and then press the space bar or the tab bar or tab key. And if you are on VR, then you just like point towards someone. And if you're on Oculus, it's the A button. It's a little bit different for different tools, but it brings up these additional menus. Here, I'll make this a little bit bigger. But you can practice that right now on whatever platform that you're on, just to see if you can bring up other people's controls. And this is a good time to tell you that if I'm a little bit too quiet right now, you can point your controls towards me and turn up my volume. You can also hide me from your view if I'm bothering you, or I believe that you can also, as a moderator, you can kick the person from the room as well, or mute their mic for them. And so this was a challenge, and there was definitely like some trade-offs in this. This is probably not like the be-all end-all for like VR kind of controls, but because we wanted to make it accessible and we wanted the system to be really similar, like a similar experience, whether you're on mobile phone or whether you're on desktop computer or whether you're on VR, this is what we came up with, and it's like constantly getting better. Cool. And I love that people are like adding like chats and like comments at the bottom. That's super awesome. It's really nice to have engagement. And feel free to interject and like ask me any questions if you want along the way. Is anyone having audio lag? I'm getting some feedback about that. Okay, perfect. Well, I'm going to muscle on. I'm sorry if there's any audio lag. I don't mean there to be. So then there's some other trade-offs that come up. So for example, performance is something that's really important for us because unlike with other VR platforms where maybe you can download a bunch of the content in advance, if you're loading this up on the web, you need to be able to go to a website and have it load right away. And you know, if you're on a VR gaming computer, or if you're on a gaming computer and you're wired into the wall, it's going to be one thing. It's going to be pretty powerful. But if you're on a mobile phone and you're roaming at the time, like, and you're on your data, it's going to be a lot slower. So we really need to have very performant rooms and try to optimize the tools that we've got. And so one of the things that we do that, or one of the ways we do this beyond just like trying our best to optimize our code base, is we also have set a cap of 25 people into the room. And that's sort of not like a browser-based cap, but it's something that we've manually put in because we found that at about the 25 person mark is when the experience when you're on a mobile phone or a less powerful device starts to really like lag, just because it can't quite keep up with all the voice traffic in the room beyond like the 27th, 28th kind of person. So what we did in order to sort of equalize that experience for people is we set the cap of 25, but if you expect to have more than 25 people joining the room, they can watch from inside of what's called like the lobby. The lobby. So when you first come here, before you pick out your avatar, you're sort of like dropped into the room and you can interact with people still through text chat. You can see what's happening. You just aren't represented by an avatar. So that's one of the ways that we've tried to address this issue of performance. And we're hoping that as there's greater browser adoption of WebXR and as we become more performant in our tools, that we'll be able to increase that in the future. But right now, it seems to work really well. And when you've got more than 25 people in the room, sometimes it can get a little bit cacophonous anyway. So I find that's a really reasonable cap to have. Another thing that we did is we created what's called the Spoke Architecture Kit. So this room that you're standing in right now is really lovely, and it was made by my colleague Jim. And it's made entirely out of pieces from our architecture kit, which is basically like a 400-piece Lego set that you can use to build any object you want. So you are able to bring in any sort of GLTF models into hubs that you want or into Spoke, which is our environment editor. But you know, you don't know if those are going to be optimized for the web. They might be quite large. They might be beautiful, but if they're really, really big, they're not going to load super well on the web. So you do have to be really cognizant of the number of triangles, et cetera, and the size of the texture maps that are on your 3D objects. But using the architecture kit, all of these objects have already been designed to be optimized for mobile experiences and to make them really like browser friendly. And you can see that you can make a really cool, like pretty diverse number of things out of the objects in here. And I've got a little video sort of showing how that looks, but I don't know if it'll load very quickly for you folks. So let's see if I can drag it in. I was perhaps being a little bit too ambitious trying to bring in a video in the middle of this presentation. All right, I don't think that's going to be loading. Oh, here we go. And you can bring in stream videos a lot faster than this. This is one that I just like actually had to upload right now because I was having some problems with the video I was trying to bring in before. So you can see when you're building in Spoke, you just kind of grab these little pieces and you slot them together and they can easily build either a house or like a Gothic castle. It's quite flexible and versatile, and you know that if you build something using these tools, that they are going to be fairly well performant on the web. And they look so cool. I like to think about this, like when I first played with it, it reminded me of when I was a kid and I would build websites on like AngelFire or GeoCities, and it was like I was building a real website, but there were tools online that made it super easy for me to make exactly what I wanted. And so I was able to make myself like a beach house that was a VR environment that I could invite my friends to play in, and they didn't necessarily need to have a VR headset because that's kind of a limitation, right? A lot of people that we know might not have access to a VR headset. So I can invite them to like come and hang out in my room, even if they only had their mobile phone or desktop computer. Yeah, and not everyone wants to use a HND. I actually really want to say too, like I am really susceptible. I'm getting better, but I'm really susceptible to being like not feeling well when I'm in a headset. And so it's really nice to have the option to either wear it or not. Yeah. And I get to throw things. Yay. So sorry, I'm just kind of going into my notes. So yes, we have a lot of educators in our community that are working with these tools. And some of the coolest ones, I think, are the people that are introducing kids to VR using tools like Spoke. So I showed you that video of what it looks like to build something in Spoke. It's really easy, sort of drag and drop pieces, but it has a lot of the same like tools and features as more powerful like desktop-based VR modeling tools, but without having the really high overhead that you would have otherwise. So one of the educators that's in our community that is doing really, really cool work is Kai Fraser. And I've got a video here. And she's doing work with a lot of children from disadvantaged neighborhoods and giving them tours of VR environments, as well as teaching them how to build their own. So it started off as a company where she would take people on virtual field trips to monuments in the country that they otherwise would not have the opportunity to get to. And then since then it's built from there, and now she works with students to help teach them how to build their own experiences like that. So I absolutely love her work. We have another person, one of the Mozilla tech speakers. Her name is Yamima, and she works with students in Palestine. I think I've got a photo of one of her tweets, where she teaches them also about 3D concepts using tools like Spoke. So I'm just bringing in a photo right now. So here she is at a recent event. Showing people how to use it. And one of the reasons that she appreciated using hubs and Spoke was because they didn't have to download any software, because in the rooms that they were working in classrooms, they didn't have the permission to download any software. But to access hubs and Spoke, all you have to do is go to hubs.mozilla.com/spoke, and you're right away able to start messing around and building your own rules. But the education portion of hubs does not stop at like just learning how to use the tools, you know, introducing kids to VR. There's a lot of other people that are using it for super interesting research. So this is a video by a fellow named Colin Freeman. And I'll have to double check the name, but the Augmented Reality Lab at Georgia Tech have built like a 3D version of the Parthenon. Yeah, it's the Augmented Environment Lab. And what they're doing is they built this 3D model and they've adapted it to run in social VR so that they can actually walk around inside of the Parthenon with their students and give them a tour of like what the different parts were for and some of the history, and they can actually be in a simulated version of that environment. So this is an early version of it. This isn't the Hubs version. They had to do a little bit of work to optimize it to make it work in social VR, but the basic principle is the same. Yes. Oh, was there a question? No, okay. Hello? I can see Dan, but I can't hear him. Is he chatting or anything?
I can't hear him either.
Okay. I don't see any chat, no. I'm not sure. He might be lost in like the between worlds. Oh no. Anyways, this is really exciting work, and Colin's been really involved in our community, sharing other creations as well, and it's really neat to see what they're coming up with and the sort of different experiences that they can give to people. And then the last one that I wanted to show, 1 second. Oh, and then we have another community member who is from Tech Monterey, and he is working on doing negotiations in VR. So I'm just going to pull up this video. Move this one out of the way. Oh man, the suspense is killing me. I hope this is loading properly. So this is a screen capture of, what is it going to play? Okay, it might not play properly, but they made these really beautiful humanoid avatars. And you can totally customize all the avatars as well in Hubs. And they're basically going into VR to practice different types of negotiations and like communication with other people. And I thought that was a really interesting way of exploring communication through VR, and maybe even reducing the amount of anxiety that people might feel when they're being tested on their ability to communicate with other people. So on that note, that's sort of like an introduction to some of the community members that we have that are doing really exciting work, if you ask me, and a little bit about Hubs and some of the challenges that we have by being on the web, but also some of the benefits, because it's really, really easy to get into. There's no downloading or anything involved. It's open source and you can customize it completely. And I would love to either take any questions, or if you folks want, we can go on a bit of a tour of some of the different environments that other people have created and see, I don't know, just some cool stuff.
I had a question. Are the environments, if we build something, is it persistent? Do we have like a space that's our own that's persistent, or they disappear after we're done?
That's such a good question. Okay, I'm just going to clear out some of this media here and I will totally answer your question. That's a super good one. So when you make something in Spoke, it belongs to you. And so this room, for example, it belongs to the person who first made it, and then we made like a fork of it. And this room will always stay the same until that person changes it. And then once you're in a room, like, or wait, I should go back. So that environment, the scene is what we call it within Hubs. That is persistent until the person who made it changes it. And then they can make any updates that they want to in the back end. But the room itself, you can create them really easily just by going to hubs.mozilla.com, press create room. It generates a unique URL. That URL will go on forever. It will never get closed. So if you want to have recurring meetings in the same spot, and then you can pick and choose whatever scene you want. So if you wanted to stay within a scene like this, which is like this beautiful house, you could, or you could change it to another scene. Any media that you bring in, like these things that I've kind of cluttered up the room with, those will only stay till I leave today unless I pin them. And so that's because we wanted to make sure that people didn't come into a room and just like clutter the whole thing up. Because you know, when we're playing around in here, like you can bring in 3D models and whatnot, you can draw. And if people start doing that, it gets to be a little bit like busy. But if you pin the object, so if you point at something and you open up the menu on it, you'll have an option to be able to, oh, everything open at once. You'll have the option to be able to make it stay inside of the room, and so it won't disappear afterwards. So yes, all the rooms can be persistent.
Yeah, so you can put content that you'd want to be persistent, like a video, and just pin it so that it's part of the room.
Totally, yeah.
Good to know.
So you could either build that into the actual room itself, or you could have it just pinned in if you wanted to maybe at some point take it out in the future.
Nice, good. Thank you.
Yeah. And we can also do 360 videos as well. That's a question that we get quite a bit. So if you wanted to have, and I've got an example of that too that we can travel to in a few minutes, but if you wanted to like be inside of a sphere with students and like pointing out things, or like in some way you wanted to like share a 360 video experience, that's something you can do in Hubs.
I've
Any
got
other questions?
Yes, I've got a question there, Elgin.
Yes.
The experience in Hubs, is it optimized for the kind of lowest common denominator, like the phone or like a low end laptop? Or is there different tiers if you're going from like a Vive Pro or an Oculus Rift? Will that be a higher end visual experience? And then depending on the device you're on, you have a lower and lower end experience?
Yeah, that is a super, super good question. So it does depend a little bit. So we do have some changes that happen to, like if you're on a mobile device, for example, lighting is a little bit different than if you are on a, oh man, all of my videos are loading up here. My apologies. So yeah, like the power of a computer, like the computer that you're working with varies a lot based on a lot of factors. So not only the device itself, but also the network. But yeah, we do have on mobile and Quest devices, the lighting is a little bit different to be able to improve performance.
So there is different tiers that are optimized based on the device you're tuning in with. So it wasn't just me.
Nope, we lost her audio.
Somebody put a quarter in.
Anybody want to take the stage?
She'll probably be right back.
One cool thing that I learned with just getting my presentation set up in Hubs is that you can do the PowerPoints and you can actually scroll through the PowerPoints. I found it super intuitive and straightforward to get into this compared to a lot of the other VR experiences.
Yeah.
And I'm just really looking forward. That I think that's sort of the on ramp that we need for the greater VR adoption.
I really like the fact that I can, compared to AltSpace VR, because I'm on a desktop right now, I can easily move off of here onto another screen and I can take notes and it doesn't disrupt my navigation. Also the text, being able to have a different back channel just other than audio is so critical. So I think this is a lot more usable than like AltSpace VR. That's just my 2 cents.
Hi, sorry I jumped out there. My Quest kind of glitched out there for a second, so I just jumped into my laptop. Yeah, so we were talking about the different performance, right? So there are some things that we're doing at the moment to be able to improve performance on like slower desktop computers, but right now really the big divider is between mobile experiences and desktop ones. Would you folks like to go see some other scenes? Yeah. Okay, great.
Field trip.
Thank you for your patience there, by the way.
No problem. That was pretty quick.
Okay, so this one first is a photogrammetry scene. So this is a room that was, it's just from Sketchfab that someone imported, and it looks pretty cool, I think.
I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm in the blackness.
So you should
Oh,
jump
it's
from the
loaded.
blackness.
It's loaded up. Okay. Here we go. Oh.
Mine's not loaded up. I don't see anything. I'm in a gray screen of death.
Yeah,
I'll be patient.
I call it the upside down when I get stuck in glitches.
I've
What?
got the Buddha statue in the temple.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll be in like a temple.
And you can even walk through it. That's pretty.
Yeah, yeah.
That's wild. How is this even happening?
So this is just an object from Sketchfab that someone imported. It didn't take very long at all, and you can explore it and take a look around. And there's lots more photogrammetry scenes on Sketchfab. Sometimes they're not always the most performant because of the high amount of detail, but this one, for some reason, seems to load really well.
This is wild.
Okay, so next I will take you to Colin Freeman's Parthenon room. So it's going to go black for you folks again in a few seconds. Okay, one moment.
The upside down.
I didn't see the temple, but
oh no, I'm sorry.
Oh,
It might have been
okay.
just too high res.
That's okay. I'll hang in there.
I myself am stuck in the black screen of death at the moment. So let's see what happens.
I just got out of the upside down.
Okay.
Looking at a beautiful
Looks
sculpture.
good. Is this Athena or?
Wow. Where's everyone else?
I just arrived.
I'm here, but I'm just in a gray screen of death. Can't see anything.
Bethany, you couldn't see the Parthenon either, could you?
No.
Okay.
It's just sort of hung up. So I was thinking maybe I'd log out and try logging back in.
Yeah,
but-
refreshing the page might fix it. I'm
Oh,
not sure
okay.
why that happened.
I'm in here, but the only person I can see is. Oh, is gone. Oh no, he's outside.
Oh, I went outside. Hi, Art.
Yeah, we probably
Yeah.
all spawned into really
Chestnut
like different
teal.
places.
Is there other people outside? Chestnut Teal's the only person I can see in here.
That's what my name is? It doesn't say Paul? No.
Doesn't say Paul.
Chestnut Teal. I wonder where that came from.
Oh, it's just like an
That's
automated
the
generated.
that was the name. Okay, some more people here now.
What? This is nuts. This is really cool.
Cool. So I'll hang out here for another few minutes or a few seconds, and then I've got a few other scenes that I'd love to show you.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
I'm up for the next place.
All right. Do you want a music video or a documentary?
Music video.
Music video? Okay.
Just flying around here.
Oh, you might have landed above. Oh.
Yep. Do we go down into it? Oh man, I feel like I'm going to that black hole. What's going on? I'm just going in. What is happening? This is wild.
So this was a video that was uploaded by a student, I think it's from South by Southwest from a few years ago. But yeah, it was just a 360 video template they threw in this music video. It's been psychedelic. And so if you've got a link to a YouTube video that's 360, you can make one of these in just a few minutes.
This is crazy.
We'll just take you to another few places. And hopefully this one loads fairly quickly. I think it's fairly well performing.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
Well, this is exciting.
So yeah, this is just a scene that someone uploaded. I thought it was kind of cool. It's the set from The Office, right?
Oh.
Oh, Bethany, you're right. I thought it would have like some like appeal being from a movie set, but you're right. It's just like being at work. Anyway, so that's like a little bit of a tour of some of the different scenes that you can find in Hubs. The ones that I've just shared are all in our database of scenes that were marked shareable.
That's really cool.
Yeah, you want a list of the scenes? Yeah, for sure. I can gather something together. And I just also wanted to mention that I am super happy and available to answer any questions about hubs. So we're mostly in Discord, but if you tweet at us, our handle is byhubs. And so if you get in touch with me, I'm happy to come in and do like a one-on-one like consultation about whether hubs can do the things that you might need it to do, and also provide any sort of like guidance you might need. So please feel free to reach out to that Twitter account, or you can reach me at, if I'll just type my email address down here as well. Yeah, for sure. Please do, Bethany. I'd be so happy to. And yeah, I can also direct you to our Discord channel, which,
Yeah.
I tried to generate my email, but it just loaded a web page. Sorry.
Well, yeah, and the text isn't persistent, is it? It just sort of disappears, ephemeral.
Yeah, so that is something that we're actively working on improvements and stuff for hubs, and that's something that we've heard from the community that they'd like to have is like being able to watch the text chat and scroll back.
Yes.
It's not on our plan for this quarter, but likely next quarter is a time that we're going to be focusing on that.
Nice.
When did hubs get started there?
So 2018 was when it started as an experiment.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Exciting experiment.
It's really fun. It's cool to be able to just open up a link and find yourself in an environment like this.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, feel free to reach out to me. I think my contact information must be on the website as well. And I'm super happy to chat about hubs and how it works, etc. for you.
Sounds good. Bill, is that meetup in VR or in the real world?
Oh yeah, so we like I could meet with you in hubs. I do office hours twice a week, so Mondays from 4 till 5, and then Wednesdays from 8 till 9. But I can also meet outside of those times. And our team actually has its own meetup on Fridays from 11:30 to 12:30 PST. And during that time, our whole dev team gets together. So if you've got questions more on the technical end about the capabilities or about making your own fork of the hubs, of a hubs room or the hubs. The hubs code, you're welcome to come by and you can meet like the whole dev team. It's really nice actually that we have that like open time for anyone to come in and chat.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome.
I also just wanted to, like, now that we're kind of finishing up here, Brendan is going to be giving a talk starting in like 15 minutes in another hubs room. Brendan, do you want to, or maybe I'll share the link to that.
Just did. Yeah, pop on into that one, and then we're all moving over there, and I'm going to be talking about ArtGate VR and art history and virtual reality. Yeah.
It's like an alt event. So what we did was I did an invite in partnership with the Educators in VR group because their schedule is just like totally full. And so we had an open invite to anyone who was interested in giving a talk who wasn't able to submit a CFP was welcome to run a talk in hubs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, there's so much going on.
Or simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. You said you're in Phoenix? I was in Tempe giving a workshop just a couple weeks ago. It was really pretty there.
We're selling artwork through our platform right now. There's an inquire button, so there's collectors and galleries that are buying and selling artwork through our platform.
That's really cool. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, nice to meet you, Bill. I look forward to chatting with you soon. Great, thank you.